Venetian plaster is like building a house. When you want to build a house, you need to have the correct foundation before you could start building the structure. So in this example, the foundation is your surface, it's your substrate. Before you could apply the Venetian plaster, you have to make sure that the foundation, which means the surface, the substrate, is ready to have the Venetian plaster built on it. Now, if you have a foundation that can't support a structure, what's going to happen? The structure is going to fall. And the same way, if you have a surface that hasn't been primed and ready for the Venetian plaster is going to fall off. So in this case, you want to make sure that the surface, the substrate, is a good foundation for the Venetian plaster to get built on. That means your substrate should be a wall that you could paint and prime, and it's primed with quartz primer ready for the Venetian plaster. We're going to get into those details, of course, later on as well. And in this example, we just want you to get an idea of how you're actually going to build, how you're actually going to design your Venetian plaster surface. In this case, the structure is your first coat of Venetian plaster. If we want the Venetian plaster design to come out a certain way, we have to structure it from before to give us that effect. So your structure is your first coat of Venetian plaster. And then after your first coat, you're going to do your second coat of Venetian plaster, and in some designs you're going to need to have more than 2 or 3 coats. But in this example, let's say it's only 2 coats. Then you have your walls, which is going to be your final coat of Venetian plaster, and that's where you could do your final details. And then at the end you build your roof, and that's going to be your sealer or your wash. So this is a very oversimplified way of explaining how to design Venetian plaster and of course how to build a house. But the reason we want you to view it in this perspective and have a little bit of a different angle is so when you go to design a wall that you're looking at, you decide how you're going to build that structure before you actually start applying the Venetian plaster on the wall. So if you have a design in your head and you want to replicate that on the wall, you just have to work your way backwards and see how you could create those patterns in the design. And you have to decide if you want to do that on the first coat of the Venetian plaster, on the structure phase, or on the final coat of Venetian plaster. So we're going to get into more details, of course, but I just wanted to give you a different angle so you could maybe have a better understanding when it comes to designing and applying your Venetian plaster. So now let's get into the course.